September 1st, 1939, 4:40 a.m. Poland is still asleep. In the small town of WWII, where the streets smell of bread and the windows are still fogged from the night's breath, people are awakened by a sound that is like neither wind nor thunder. It is the roar of engines. The Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, dives down like predators and drops the first bombs. Without warning, without a declaration of war. The first target is not a military installation, but a hospital. This is not a mistake. It is a demonstration. In this moment, history ceases to be diplomacy. It becomes fire. A few months before this, in the dark offices of the Reich Chancellery, Hitler and his generals, von Brauchitsch, von Bock, Rundstedt, sit over a map of Poland. It is not just geography. It is a chessboard. Poland must be destroyed as a state, says Hitler. Fall Weiss, whispers Franz Halder, the chief of the general staff. Case white. They decide to strike from three sides, from the north, through East Prussia, from the west, through Silesia, from the south, through Slovakia. This is not just strategy. This is surgery. They want to carve Poland out of Europe. German tanks, Panzer I and II, race down the roads like iron snakes. Behind them, infantry, motorized columns, artillery. In the sky are the Stukas, dive bombers, wailing their sirens to paralyze the will. Imagine, you are a Polish soldier. You have a rifle, a horse, and faith. And against you, machines, the sky, and silence. The Polish army is brave but outdated. Radio communication is weak. Coordination is broken. Cities fall one after another. Łódź, Krakow, Warsaw. But the most terrible thing is not the fall of walls. It is the fall of hope. September 17th. As Poland is already bleeding out, a second blow comes from the east. The Soviet Union, according to the secret protocol of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, invades the eastern lands. We are protecting the Belarusian and Ukrainian population, says Moscow, but this is a lie. This is the division of spoils. Imagine, you are a commander on the eastern border. You were not expecting a war. And suddenly, tanks, soldiers, orders. You don't know who to shoot. You don't know who to trust. October 6, 1939. The Polish campaign is over. Poland capitulates. The territory is divided between Germany and the USSR. Slovakia gets a peace. The Polish government is in exile. The people are in fear, in captivity, in uncertainty. And Europe? On September 3rd, Great Britain and France declare war on Germany. But they do not fire a shot. This is the Phoney War. The world watches, but does not act, as if it is afraid to admit that evil has already stepped out of the shadows. Germany, Walter von Brauchitsch, Gerd von Rundstedt, Fedor von Bock. Poland, Edward Rydz-Śmigły, Władysław Bortnowski, Tadeusz Piskor. But behind these names are not just generals. They are the people who made decisions upon which the fates of millions depended, some with cold calculation, some with desperation. What did the people feel? The Polish peasant loses his land, his home, his language. The Polish child loses their school, their family, their childhood. The German soldier marches with an order, but without understanding. The Soviet officer enters a foreign country, calling it liberation. The world loses the illusion of security. This is not just the beginning of a war. It is the beginning of the end of the old world. Poland became a victim not only of tanks, but of treaties, betrayals, and silence. History is not only what happened, it is what we allowed to happen. Expert opinion. The invasion of Poland, the beginning of the end of the old world. By Ph.D. in history, specialist in 20th century European military policy. September 1st, 1939, is not just the start date of the Second World War. It is the moment when diplomacy definitively gave way to violence, and international guarantees proved to be empty words. Germany's invasion of Poland, Operation Fall Weiss, became not only a military campaign but also the moral collapse of the European security system built after the First World War. Geopolitical context. After the signing of the Munich Agreement in 1938, when the Western powers effectively allowed Hitler to annex the Sudetenland, it became clear the policy of appeasement would not stop the aggressor. Germany, strengthened after the humiliation of Versailles, was striving for revenge. Poland, caught between two totalitarian regimes, Nazi and Soviet, became the first victim of their secret collusion. The secret protocol of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, signed on August 23, 1939, divided Eastern Europe into spheres of influence. This agreement became the moral bankruptcy of international politics. Two regimes, hostile in ideology, found common ground in the destruction of sovereign states. Military assessment. From a military standpoint, Operation Fall Weiss was a model of Blitzkrieg, lightning war. Germany applied the newest tactics. The coordination of tank divisions, air power, and infantry allowed them to break through the Polish defense in a matter of days. The Polish army, despite its heroism, was not prepared for this level of mechanized warfare. The strike from the east on September 17th was especially tragic. The Soviet invasion was a stab in the back for the Poles. This not only hastened the fall of Poland, but also showed that in this war there was no room for neutrality, no third party. Everyone was either a participant or a victim. Psychological and moral aspect. For the Polish people, this was not just a defeat. It was the annihilation of a state, a culture, an identity. The people found themselves between two totalitarian machines, each of which brought repression, deportations, and death. For Europe, it was a moment of epiphany. By declaring war on Germany but taking no active measures, Great Britain and France demonstrated a tragic sluggishness. This allowed Hitler to consolidate his position and continue his aggression. Conclusion: the invasion of Poland is not just a historical fact, it is a lesson. It shows how quickly states collapse when international solidarity disappears, how easily evil penetrates when it is not called by its name, and how important it is to remember a war does not begin with a gunshot. It begins with silence.